everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Snot channel. And after a quick pit stop at Philly where we got a 1-1 result against the Union, the Quakes are returning home for another quick pit stop at home as they play against the Houston Dynamo in our only home game at Avaya Stadium in April. I know, it is just quite crazy, the fact that we only have one home game at April. This is the only time out of every single month this season where we only get one home game per month, and then after that we have to go on a back-to-back Eastern Conference road trip where we're going to be facing Orlando City and Columbus Crew before we return home in May on Cinco de Mayo Day to face against the Portland Timbers. Now, before I begin this match preview between the Dynamos and the Quakes, I just want to quickly mention something that I didn't mention in my match review or my match week number 6 review where I review all the games, and this instance certainly will impact this game, and that of course is Howard Cummins getting sent off literally at the last minute of the game, and the sending off that he got was just, I mean, he basically went full Clint Dempsey and decided to just smack someone with his hand into somebody's balls, and literally the referee originally the referee didn't realize that, but then the referee went to VAR, and when he saw that instant, he produced a straight red to Howard Cummins literally when the final whistle blow. I mean, Howard Cummins, what the actual fuck were you thinking there? Like, seriously, we are literally down to the last couple of seconds of the game. There is absolutely no need to do that. Like, the incident that occurred over there didn't even involve with an on-ball situation. It was an off-ball situation. It was just Howard Cummins decided to just smack someone in the balls because apparently he decided to do that to just get out of his frustration of us not getting a win at the game. I mean, honestly, you silly boy, Howard Cummins, and certainly he deserved to get suspended for this game. But because of that, now we're gonna have a big issue in terms of our center back partnership, which of course I will get to. But going back to this game between the Quakes and the Dynamo, and I know it's only the 6th game of the season, or actually I think this is the 5th game of the season for us, but this is an absolute must-win for us. I mean, you know, this game is a game where not only it's at home, which first of all, we have to win our home games, but it's going to be against a team that recently in these last couple of games are probably the easiest team that we will face right now. The Dynamo are just not look like the same team that they were that beat Atlanta United on opening weekend 4-0, and ever since that they actually have not got a win at all. They only got 1 draw and 2 losses during that time, and both of their losses were actually at home. And during that time they also kind of went into a little bit of a goal drought period where they only scored 3 goals in those 3 games. So, you know, this is a great opportunity for us to play against the Dynamos at this time of the period where they're not really in a very good form. And historically, the Quakes have never tends to do well against the Dynamos. Whenever we play the Houston Dynamos on the road, you can forget about us getting either a point or all 3 points. But even at home, we tend to struggle at times. I mean, last season, I think that was like the first time that I actually seen the Quakes got a victory over the Dynamos. I think ever since I've become a fan in 2013, I have not seen the Quakes beat the Dynamo at home at all. So yeah, we just don't tend to have a good history against this team, but this is a game that we need to get a victory, simply because this is the easiest team that we're going to face throughout these first couple of games besides the Minnesota United on opening week, and the fact that we have only got 4 points out of 4 games. We are off to a pretty slow start. We're currently in 10th in the standings, and if we don't get something out of this game, we are just going to dig ourselves even deeper into that hole. And you know, the last thing I want us to do is just to dig ourselves into a deep hole, and that potentially we're going to have to play catch up in the summer's kind of month when the season is at, and probably when we get all those home games in August, because I know for a fact that the Quakes always tends to struggle during the summertime of the season. So yeah, that is pretty much the reason why we have to get a win in this. Now, in terms, of course, the guys that, you know, the Quakes have to watch out in this game, obviously it has to be Albert Elise. I mean, some people might say, well, we might also have to look out for Romeo Kyoto on the other side, and potentially Manotes, although I think Manotes is actually injured and he won't be playing in this game. But absolutely, we got to watch out for Albert Elise. I mean, the way that he can just completely turn defense apart, completely torn them apart, and just pretty much make them dance on the 18-yard box. It is very vital for us to try not to let him go through. You know, he's already scored a couple of goals this season, so we got to make sure that, you know, he doesn't get into a good area and potentially score a goal. And he is also very, very fast in that wing. I mean, he can absolutely outpace any fullbacks and any center back on any given day. So we got to make sure that we don't let him get into the open field and basically just completely rip apart our defense. And he's also very good at delivering the ball into the box, set up players to potentially score a goal for his team. So that is why we got to watch out for him, and that's the player that the Quakes absolutely need to watch out for. And he certainly is one of the best young player in this league. Now, in terms, of course, for the starting 11 that I think Michael Starhay is going to put out in this game, like I said about how Howard Cummins is not going to be in the starting 11, that means it's going to be somebody else that has to be stepped into that center back role. But first of all, I think Andrew Tarbell is going to be in that goalkeeper position. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Tarbell, you know, I don't even need to mention it anymore that Tarbell is going to be in that goalkeeper position, because he is our starting goalkeeper. We don't have any other goalkeeper that, you know, can basically just step in there unless if Tarbell is actually injured. So Tarbell is going to be there in the goalkeeper position. But in terms of towards the center back partnership, you know, for me, I really want to see Youngworth move back down to that center back role, because when we saw Youngworth kind of like in that center back role, kind of like in that 5 at the back role that we had in the second half, where Michael Starhay decided to switch it to 5 at the back, it just completely stabilized our defense. Like, our defense looks so much more organized and so much more compact than what we did in the first half. And you know, it's just, it feels like it's not rocket science, the fact that Youngworth going back to that center back role can kind of stabilize our defense, because he is an absolute leader in that center back. I mean, there is pretty much not a big surprise why he won Defensive Player of the Year for our team, because he is just such a rock in our defense. He set up our defense. He tell the guys in our back line where to go and where to set up, and with him not being there, instead moving up in that holding midfield role, it just feels like that he just have no control at our back line at all, and that is when our back line just completely fall apart and just completely leaving way too much space to players, like what happened in that first half. So hopefully Youngworth is going to be in there, but knowing Michael Starhay and knowing the fact that he does not want to put Youngworth there unless he play at a 5 at the back, most likely it's going to be either Alache or Afotur that is going to be in there. But in terms, of course, the other center back, it's going to be Quintana. Quintana actually had a really decent game in that last game, but again, it's probably because Youngworth was there. Like, Youngworth literally made everybody in that back line so much more kind of decent in that second half, and it's just another reason for me to emphasize why we really need him in that center back row instead of just him being in that holding midfield row. Now, in terms of course in the left back position, it is going to be Joel Queberg. You know, Joel Queberg, he had a okay game. He's definitely had a much better game than when Salinas was in that left back position. I mean, when Salinas went in that left back position in that Union game, it was just a nightmare to watch. And you know, with Joel Queberg, he at time he did kind of got beat a little bit, but at least he looked like a left back. Like, he looked like the left back that we kind of really need to kind of like stabilize that side. And you know, at times that he does make some very kind of crucial stops in that area, unlike where Salinas just literally decided to let an attacker through and without any kind of like challenge. So that's why Joel Queberg is going to be in there. In the right back, it is going to be Nick Lima. For the second week in a row, I think Nick Lima was the man of the match in that game against the Union, and once again pretty much just bailing out our defense in that first half. So Nick Lima is going to be there in the right back. Now, in terms of course in the holding midfield partnership, it is going to be Honorable Godoy and hopefully, please, Jackson Yu. Okay, now I know for a fact that Michael Starhay is not going to do this because he probably is going to put Youngworth up, and that's going to be occupied the other holding midfield role. But for me, I just really want to see Jackson Yu play. Like, the fact that, for me, that he didn't even make the bench in that game against the Union just really scratched my head and wondering what is going on. Like, I really need to know what is going on with Jackson Yu and Michael Starhay. Is there like some sort of relationship kind of breakdown? Something has to be going on in the back room, and unfortunately I just cannot find any kind of news source or even on the team Reddit page that talks about what's going on behind the scenes of why Jackson Yu is not getting any minutes and not even making on the bench. So yeah, hopefully he will be there in kind of the holding midfield role. In terms of course the free central attacking mid that we're gonna go with Eriksson, Vako, and also oh wait, actually that's pretty much it. I don't know why I thought there was another player, but in terms of course going up front, it is gonna be Husin and Wondolowski, and that is pretty much going to be my starting 11 for this game. And in terms for the prediction for this game, I mean, needless to say more, that this is an absolute must-win game and that we are going to have to win this game, which is why I'm gonna say we're gonna win it, and we are going to win it by a final score of 2-1 over the Houston Dynamo. But that is pretty much my starting 11 for this game and my prediction for this game. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think is going to happen in this game against the Houston Dynamos? Is this an absolute must-win for us, considering the fact that we have so much tough games coming up? And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this preview. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Make sure you guys check out my match vlog that I will be doing on Saturday. And yeah, I hope I will see you guys next time.